You want to go back and decertify that so that now we have somebody come back and say,
are you stating for the record that it's a possibility as a legal argument that any actions that the current governor has made?
No, I'm asking you if that's what you want.
No,
I'm not stating it as a possibility.
Well, don't use it as an example if you don't believe it's legally possible.
It was, at times, a heated exchange between Majority Leader Senator Ror Clark and Governor Calvo's chief policy advisor, Ror Clark, over rival election reform bills. The legislature's Bill 413, already vetoed by the governor because it would have extended the voting deadline for the 2010 election, opening the door on the possibility of overturning that outcome.
Is human error going to creep in future elections? Absolutely. So every time we have an issue with human error, are we going to enact new legislation to change the deadlines? A year and a half after an election's already been closed and there's been a certification of the results and people have taken office? Doesn't make any sense. It's to me, it was mind-boggling when I read that Section 7118, that would even make itself into any proposed legislation in a democratic society.
On the other hand was the governor's substitute election reform bill 449, eliminating the voting deadline extension but keeping in the provision for auditing the results. Clark picked over the other changes made in the governor's substitute version, explaining the shortcomings in the legislature's bill.
Say that you can't order an attorney general to move forward with prosecution because the election commission says so. You know, I mean, the wording, it was worded such that you take any discretion away from the attorney general. You even take away his right to investigate the issue to decide whether or not there was anything that was criminally done.
Would it make sense then to go back beyond the 2010 election?
So I'm trying to understand your question. Then your question is, under your hypothetical is, as I assume, it won't make sense to apply this hypothetical or this law to any other election but the 2010 election.
Well, your argument doesn't make sense. Your argument doesn't make sense at all, where you think that the emissions of the last election were just reduced to human error.
The other change we made is in Section 12114, substantive change relative to, again, removing the open-ended authority, allowing the Election Commission to decertify election results. There's no timeline, there's no standards, there's no requirements. As it was written, literally you could go back and decertify the 1998 election.
We found out there's fraud in Barragata. We found out there's fraud in Jigo. We found out we never serviced 71 homebound voters. We found out all of these things. So where is the mechanism to protect the voters' rights to vote?
Chris Carrillo also testified. He is one of the Democratic members of the Guam Election Commission.
I'm not saying that Mr. Clark is wrong with his supposition that we need to close the book on the election, yes. But the Democratic Party has been seeking some kind of justice here or some kind of audit of this election since 2010. It's not like the Democratic Party came in yesterday and said, let's have an audit 2 years later.
The legislature still has the option to override the governor's veto. No override vote has been scheduled yet. Kevin Kerrigan, PNC News.